Hey y'all, it's your girl Miss Yak with another episode of Girl Talk with Miss Yak. This week I've got my girls Yogi and my sister Desiree on with us. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring them on in. Hey ladies.
Hi.
Oh yeah, you sound so dry.
Me?
Oh my goodness. All right. So ladies, this week we are talking about single parenthood. So all three of us are parents of two. We each have two kids apiece. I just realized that. All right. So, Desiree, you've got two girls. Yogi, you got two boys, and I got one of each.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Now, being a single mother, that's kind of a category all of its own. And it's not for the weak at heart, I would say. What do y'all think?
No, no, it's just
Definitely.
no.
Definitely not. And it's not to say that's something that we all went into that we wanted to do, but that's how it happened, right? So
Right.
for you ladies, what would you say? And I'll go with you first, Desiree. What would you say has been the hardest part about being a single parent? And you're not single parenting anymore.
No,
Miss-
technically.
But what
But
was the hardest part for you?
um just trying to make sure that I was making enough money to take care of these kids and juggling all of the different schedules to make sure that I wasn't working too much, but working enough to pay bills, but also having time set aside to do stuff with my kids.
Okay, I can definitely relate to that. What about you, Yogi?
The hardest part for me was the fact that I have boys, and trying to make sure that I don't let my kids end up in another statistic. So making sure that I'm there for them for everything. Making sure that I'm open as much as possible because I've always, growing up in the black household, our parents tend to hide things from us and they don't tell us everything. And, just making sure I protect my kids from walking into the same things I walked into. Financially, it was hard because I went from a two-parent household to a single-parent household by divorce. So it was very difficult making sure that they didn't lack anything, even though, I wasn't making as much money as their dad, but I tried to make sure that they were still comfortable. The other hardest thing about being a single parent is just finding time for myself.
Yeah. That is definitely a struggle. And I think a lot of people they tend to overlook that. Or even when you start dating and you get with the guy and they're used to the one female who has no problem dropping off her kids with Tom, Susie, and whoever, as
Right.
opposed to the mom that's more involved and wants to make sure her kids are set up right.
Hmm.
So how has that affected your dating life?
Um, my sons are actually involved in my dating life, which most people wouldn't agree with. And the only reason it affects it to a point where guys feel like, they're my dad, quote unquote, because I allow them to have a say so.
Mm.
But as a single mom with two boys, I'm not dating just for myself. I'm dating also for my children so that who's ever around them, we all get along as much as possible and there's a level of respect there. So I have literally been single for the past 3.5 years. So that ought to tell you how it's going.
Oh wow.
Next
Wow.
question.
Go
How
ahead.
old
Huh?
are your kids?
I have a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old.
Okay. So I can understand them being all of your business.
And you know what? When they were younger, I didn't let them because I wanted to protect them to a certain degree. But now that they're older, they ask questions. They're teenagers. They're going to want to know. And not only that, my son, he's 17. He's going to date also. So I want to make sure that he sees the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because what I don't want him to do as an adult is to repeat the cycle that we have so often in the African American community of baby daddies and baby mamas or divorcees or, not being open. We talk about everything from
Yeah.
dating one person to dating multiple people to, yeah. I'm not one of those parents that just teach them like, well, you just supposed to date or marry one person. No, there are polygamy relationships out here. There are lesbian relationships, there are gay relationships, there are trans relationships. Like, we talk about every avenue of it, because what I don't want my children to do is go out there and be blind about it. So anything as far as me dating, as far as what goes on in my life, I do open that door for them to ask questions, to be curious, and to talk to them on their level, though. So that's why you got to know your kids really good, so you don't over exceed their level and make them confused.
Oh, definitely. I agree with you. I do try to, communicate with my kids and keep the lines of communication open and keep them informed about what's going on. But like you, I, put it on their level. And there's some things I still just keep to myself because I'm like, you ain't ready for that just yet.
Yeah, no.
Right.
No.
But at the same token, you don't want them to be blindsided either, or just go out into the world unknowing and whatnot. And I always tell them, like, I'm going to tell you the truth. Your friend's going to tell you what they done heard through the grapevine, but I've lived it. So you might want to listen to me over your friend, right?
Yeah. Or I let them see me cry. I let my son see me heartbroken. I let them see me happy. And I don't do it often. I do it when it's needed.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that does. Mine have seen me cry too.
Yeah.
Especially in my second marriage. I went through it in my second marriage. So with my first marriage, they were little. Yeah. So they never saw anything that was going on with that. But in my second marriage, they were old enough to realize, when something wasn't right and mommy was upset and whatnot. And yeah, they have seen me cry a couple of times because of, stuff that I was going through. But I think that's healthy though.
Yeah. Also, another thing is, like, with that, I never talked about their dad and what happened between us, because I felt like I didn't want to disrespect him as a parent. And I felt like that part of our marriage and stuff is a lot of painful stuff and things that I didn't want them to judge their dad about. However, recently, my 17-year-old found a picture of his dad and I when we first got engaged. And he came to me and he said, "Mom, what happened? Tell me the truth." So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I prayed about it, told him, give me 2 days, let me pray about it, because I didn't want to come from a negative place and explain to him what from just my side. I wanted to be completely open, give his dad's side, and so we sat down. I did a disclaimer with him because I still want him to respect his dad, and I let it all out, and that was the most painful thing I've ever had to do.
Wow.
Because he had to see a part of his dad that I did not want him to know about. He had to see a part of his mom that I did not want him to know about. And I didn't want him to think that I was weak, because I stayed and I endured. But at the end, he understood, and he told me, he said, "Mom, you were a Tyler Perry wife. But you got out there."
Wow. Wow.
The coolest part about that was he still respects his dad. He still respects me. And now he has a better understanding of what actually happened. And he apologized for being what he called ungrateful kid. Because he didn't realize that me going through that and enduring was not for me, it was for him. And that's why I was sacrificing for him. So
I have another question for you.
Huh?
I have another question for you.
Go ahead.
It's okay. How old were your kids when you and your ex separated?
Ooh, Shay, how old they were?
Oh, well, how old were your kids? Oh, well, let's don't be putting out too much information.
They were 7 and 3.
Okay.
7 and 3. Yeah, because it's 10 years. They were 7 and 3. And oh my God, I came from Waldorf, Maryland, with $125 to my name and a Tupperware bin full of clothes for myself and my son. And I had nowhere to go. So we were homeless for a minute.
Oh, wow.
Yep. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, I
We
didn't know that.
Yeah, we stayed with my mom for a while. Well, we stayed with his mom for a while until I filed for divorce. And then the lawyer told me I had to leave. And so when I left, I went to my sister's house, and that wasn't a good environment for my boys. So I left there and I stayed with my mom. She lived in the projects, and that definitely wasn't a good environment because my kids came from a gated community in a predominantly wealthy neighborhood. So it was like they were in a culture shock because they
Yeah.
thought gunshots were fireworks, and I was like, "Whoa, no, 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 that's not what that is." So I had to move. I finally got my parents, my adoptive parents, helped me um, rent my first apartment. They co-signed with me. So my first apartment was in Center Point, and it was $525 a month. That was my first apartment by myself after being married 8 years and him for 14 total.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a transition. You figure out how strong you are after a while.
You do. You're right. You really do. Now,
Yep.
Desiree, you've got younger kids. So, in your situation is slightly different because you weren't married to the fathers of your daughters. Oh, so how has that transition been for you in regards to you're with them and then you're not with them? Do they ask questions yet? Uh-oh, we can't hear you anymore. We can't hear you anymore.
Sorry, my neighbor is cutting the grass, so I'm trying to keep my mic on mute so y'all don't hear that. But so my youngest, Khalees, she just turned 4, and so she doesn't really know a lot about her dad. And also, we split up when she was about 6 months or so. So, and for a while, for the past few years, he was only coming around like once every year or 6 months or something. He might see her for a day, and then we wouldn't hear from him for a while. Recently, in the past few months, he's been trying to get more involved. And Shay, that she's had some medical issues, and she's just sort of got most of those resolved, and so she's a lot more easier to handle and deal with. And so it's sort of weird that now he's starting to come around, but that really hasn't been too much of an issue. She doesn't ask about him. She's just starting to get to know him. And I think more of the effect is on my oldest daughter, Naomi. Can y'all still hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody?
Okay, hold on. We lost everybody for a minute there.
Oh, man, I was still talking.
I know, right? Y'all hold on. I'm going to edit that out.
Okay.
Hold on a minute, because I want to see, because I wasn't sure, was it me? Was it y'all? Because first Yogi dropped off, and then Desiree, you froze.
I started getting an echo from both of you guys, and then I'm at work, so I had to come out for a second.
Okay, hold on.
My way to working.
Where do you work?
Girl, this is my PRN job. I work at Glenwood, but I work for the state of Alabama Monday through Friday.
Oh, girl, so you working 2 jobs?
Mm-hmm. I work for Alabama Department of Mental Health Monday through Friday. I'm a case manager for autism services, and then some Saturdays when I miss my baby at Glenwood, which is adults with autism, I come to work and play with them, but I get paid for it. So now.
Okay, well, Desiree, I'm going to re-ask you that question. And like I said, I'm just going to edit around that, okay? Because I don't know what happened to everybody just dropped off and disappeared and whatnot.
Yeah, man, just there. It went out. That was like.
I'm just going to keep talking. Because maybe they see me.
All right, so we're going to take 2. Okay. All right. So Desiree, you have 2 younger kids. So now Yogi and I have teenagers. Your kids are younger. Have either of them started asking questions about the situation with their dads?
Well, my kids are 11 and 4. And my oldest, she sort of knows the situation between me and her dad. I mean, She really hasn't asked too much details about it. We really haven't gone into much detail about it. She knows that we split up, and occasionally she'll ask like she might ask why we weren't together, and I'll say we just weren't getting along, and it was easier, or we were happier separated. That's her right there. Sorry.
That's fine. So I can perfectly understand that. And you know, with Desiree's situation, we lost Yogi again.
I'm here. I'm doing something real quick. I'm here.
And so with Desiree's situation, like I said, it's a little different because for Yogi and I, we were married to our kid's dad. So I guess I can kind of see the difference for you because, well, even more so, well, you know, actually our kids is kind of similar because you and your kid's father split up when they were young, and it's the same for me. Even though I was married to him, they never really experienced what it's like to live with dad because when I left him, they were like a year and 5 months old. So they didn't know what it was like. Now Yogi, on the other hand, I can see that was a huge transition for your boys because they went from having them in the household 24/7 to not having them in the household.
Well, now it was both. It was half and half because 3-year-old, you know, he didn't really bond with my husband the way my oldest son did. So he could have cared less about him not being in the household. Hold on. Not yet, Pop. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I muted. He could have cared less about him not being in the household. But my oldest son, we had the full-fledged typical child going through divorce behavior from crying, grades dropping in school. He was feeling bad, like F's and everything. Attitudes. The hardest thing he ever done was one night he was so mad at me. He was like, "I want to go live with my dad," and that broke my heart because I was like, "Oh my God, like what did I do?" And so, you know, as by me having a degree in psychology and taking those classes and actually paying attention, I understood that he was going through a grieving process. So I kind of like coached him through it. I didn't do like typical parents do. Oh, he'll get over. No, we talked about everything. You know, if you're angry with me, let it out. Let's talk about why you mad at me. You know, it doesn't mean he still didn't get disciplined for some of the stuff because he tried to use it as a crutch. But at the same time, I knew how to weed the crutch moments out and weed out the critical moments. So I got both of those worlds. I got the I don't care that he's not here. And I got the what in the heck is you doing? You left my date.
Wow. And you know, it's weird. I kind of got it with my son, even though, because even with him having only lived with his dad, with both of us in the household for 1 year, when I actually left his dad, as he got older, he started to realize, you know, the difference. And he would have temper tantrums with me also. And I mean, to the point where we're in like Aldi's and he's mean mugging me. And I'm like, you want some of this? like, I wish you an angry phase. Missed his dad. And I think it was the fact that, you know, because we rotate up there in the summer months. So that transition, having the whole year to giving them to dad, was hard. And then the transition from, okay, now it's time to go back to mom, that was hard. So like for the first several years, when we would make that drive back home, they'd be in the back seat boo-hooing because they missed their dad immediately, you know? And so that was hard for me too. Hard to see them hurting like that. And it was also hard for me to have to let them go as well because, you know, they were so little, especially for my daughter, because when I left, she was only 5 months old. So she didn't know who these people were. And here I am just basically, you know, giving her away, you know. So that was hard also. And I remember I had a conversation with her dad that first summer because he called me and he's like, he could tell that she was looking for me. She didn't know who those people were. So that was heartbreaking for me also.
Gosh, I didn't realize she was so young when that happened.
Right. So it's like now she's 1 year old and all of a sudden mom's not there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that was a tough, you know, road for me also. Now with being a single mom, you know, we can't just let the intimacy trail stop. So we still have to go out there and date. So how is the dating world been for you, Desiree? Now I know Yogi says she I know she said she keeps her boys in the loop on there. I think for me, to a certain degree, I do. When I'm first starting out, I don't. But if I feel like, okay, this guy might be around, then I go ahead and start bringing him around, let them know him and whatnot. How was that like for you?
Is that for me or Yogi?
Yeah, for you.
Oh. I think I probably did a similar thing where if it seemed like it was going to start getting serious, and then because you're a single parent, there's not a whole lot of times where you can just be by yourself, so you sort of have to, especially if you feel like it's getting serious. So, yeah, if I feel like it's getting serious, then I would definitely introduce them to my kids. Now, how I introduce them to the kids might be a little different. For instance, like Joseph, my husband, because Khalees was so young and she didn't really know what was going on, she was introduced to Joseph pretty quickly. But for Naomi, it was probably a while after that. And so my youngest, Khalees, she was around him a lot more than Naomi was. And it was more of an adjustment for Naomi, of course, than it was for Khalees, because Naomi had sort of been there through similar relationships too, and she was really sort of tied to my youngest, my youngest's father. So it was pretty weird for my oldest.
Yeah, because she had kind of developed a relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So that's interesting. That's interesting.
Okay.
Now, with all three of us have primary custody of our kids. Do you ever find that, although, you know, dating for us on our end has been, you know, difficult and challenging and whatnot, have either of you tried online dating?
Yes. Oh my God. Trying to see how to say this so nicely. There are some widows out there, like weird. And but the thing is, like, my kids are gone every summer. So, you know, I get that break. I get from the beginning of, like, the end of May to the beginning, like the middle of August. They're gone. They're not here. So, you know, during the summertime, dating for me is fun because I get to go out and meet new people, But in the wintertime, I can't do that. So I've tried online dating. And yeah, it is weird. Guys out there, they are either, like, I have a friend that's a nurse practitioner, and for the first time, like, we actually started talking about her dating life, and I realized that guys date women differently because on her end, guys are more so after her money. It's like, what can you do for me? But on my end, I don't get that. But then I get the widows that they are straight to the bedroom.
Yep.
One date and they ready to go. And it's like, no, that's not how this life gonna work.
Yep. Yep. I can relate to that. Yeah. But I think in another sense, I feel like online dating also helps you to weed out some of them, to me.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah, because I feel like, you know, you can sit there and chat for a minute, a little bit longer, get kind of a better feel for them before you actually do that face to face. And then when you do that face to face, it's always got to be in someplace public.
Yeah, I've done that, and it still ended up being weird. I'm talking about like 30 days on the phone before we physically met in public, and I felt so uncomfortable.
Oh, wow.
We never had a conversation about intimacy whatsoever. We always talked about the kids and, you know, future plans and what we want to do in 10 years and this, and third. And first time we get together, you pay for a little dinner at Logan's and you was ready to go. Where you going, baby?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So I've met guys online that didn't do that. That we met each other immediately, maybe like after a week of talking on the phone, and it lasted a whole lot longer.
Yeah.
It's just that, I since I've been divorced, it's like I started to weed out. Like I started to automatically see things better than I did when I was, before I got married. Like the red flags are more noticeable now, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Who is finding anybody to date that's not online? Isn't everything? Who has met somebody not online is what I want to know.
I met somebody not online, but that's weird too. Like dating out here, period. Like guys around. Okay, so this is what I always want. We talk about this all the time. My little girls group. Guys our age that's in their mid 30s to late, like 35 to 45 range. It's weird. I don't know what the heck. Like, first of all, they still don't know if they want to settle down, which is crazy to me. Like, you still don't want to settle down. Like, it's like, I'm not, I got to find myself. We got to find yourself in the grave without a wife soon, but you want to get married. Okay, well, go ahead on, because I'm not about to be an option. And then I dated a guy that was 28, and that was like the best non-relationship I've ever had yet.
You said the best non-relationship? What's a non-relationship?
A non-relationship is when you date a guy, but you're not in a relationship, but there's no titles. And it's no titles, but you're not talking to anyone else at that time.
Okay.
And he was 28, and he was way more mature than a lot of guys. He was very open and honest, and he was very thoughtful. He bought flowers on dates. We actually went on real dates. Not like, just to a restaurant. We went to the park. We would go to the botanical gardens. We would go to the movies. We would do picnics. Like, he was yeah. And girl, he's a grown man out here. Older than him.
Mm-hmm.
Can't even buy you a daisy.
Why didn't that develop into a relationship out of the non-relationship?
It did develop into a relationship because he still had feelings for his children's mom, and he was honest about it. He didn't hide anything. Made me respect him because at the time I was talking to a 40-year-old who did tell me that he was still dealing with his baby's mom versus a 28-year-old who came completely honest about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I had two men, same situation, different ages. One handled the situation way more mature and way more understanding than the other one, which the one who did it in a more mature way was 28. And the 40-year-old, he just dropped the ball.
Okay.
Wow.
And we still friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, still friends.
Well, that's kind of, it's kind of good and bad at the same time.
It's, I was hurt. I cried. I'm not gonna lie. I shed a couple tears, but I told him thank you because, I've been in situations where I've dated guys for months, and then it's all of a sudden your wife called or your girlfriend called, and it's like, what the? You didn't know they were there? You got the mail?
Hey, y'all. Sorry to cut that short, but if I don't, then you won't watch next week, right? So we're going to go ahead and put a pin in that for right now. Y'all tune in next week to hear the rest of what we talked about on Girl Talk with Missy.